Good morning. This is Ahmed Hakim Elahi from Exile talking to you. Hope you had a very good start of the week, and hopefully you have been safe and fine since we last got together here. Today we have, as usual, we have couple of updates, presentations, but please remember that this is your time to ask questions, and we have representatives from sponsored programs, our tech transfer, which is called Innovation Access, IA. We have IRB representation, as well as accounting, as usual. So hopefully we would be able to answer your questions. So let's see. Let's start with the agenda we have right now. I might move things around a little bit, but let's start with our colleagues from Technology Transfer. We have the two associate directors of Innovation Access, Drs. Robin Sters and Christine Johnson. Again, they are both associate directors. They run basically the whole operation of technology transfer here in Davis. They are going to give us a presentation talking about intellectual property as it relates to our researchers, principal investigators, and so on and so forth. So Robin and Christine, please go ahead, however you want to go forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present today. I'm going to start off with sharing my screen, and then Christy will, I'll present the first half, and then Christy will present the second half. So we're going to go over, I'll share my screen, and we'll start. Okay, from beginning. So we're going to talk about intellectual property. Hello? Yeah. Wait a second. There it is. 4 PIs will be an overview of intellectual property. And again, we're from ITC, which is Innovation and Technology Commercialization. And I'll talk a little bit about that. It's composed of 2 units, Innovation Access, which is the tech transfer part of it, and the Venture Catalyst, which is the organization that supports startups from UC Davis. So Innovation Access will help protect and commercialize intellectual property that comes out of your laboratories, potentially commercializable intellectual property that can go to the market and help people, and it helps fulfill our mission for social benefit of the research that comes out of UC Davis. And I'll talk about how we do all these things. And just as for statistics, we had in 2018 to 19, we had $846 million in research funding, and out of that we had 145 records of invention, 98 patents, and then 14 startups were enabled that year as well. Thank you. All right, I was talking about Venture Catalyst and the resources they have. Forward one. They have a suite of a START program that allows the companies, one more, to help. It gives them help informing the company, writing business plans, etc. If you can go to the next slide. Okay. And then there's proof of concept funding through a STAR grants and DIAL grants. Go back. And there's a distributed network of incubators that have access to throughout UC Davis and Sacramento area. And there's also help in facilitating connections between startups and the regional innovation space and economic development ecosystems. So other resources that are out there. And this is the link to it, UC Davis offices. So we'll talk about intellectual property. Forward. One, what is IP? IP is essentially, it's intellectual property. It's intangible personal property. It's like real property would be houses and cars and boats and books and stuff. And intellectual property is intangible. It's creations of the mind. It could be designs or writings or artistic creations, trademarks, etc. Next. Could be trade secrets and trademarks. And there's different types of protection for different types of IP. Next. Yep. We have patents on useful inventions and ideas and things, actual things. Next. And there's copyrights that protect original expression, so things you write in books and music that are fixed in a tangible medium. So if you go out and sing on a street corner and make up a song, that's not copyrighted. But if you write it down, that will be copyright protected. There's trademarks for names and logos, and we don't handle those. We have a trademark group on campus that'll handle those, essentially. Next. And there's also trade secrets, which we don't really deal in as a campus and educational institution. Next slide. So why do we do patents? Why do we patent inventions or ideas or research that comes out? It grants a time-limited right, and it's the only thing it does for you, to exclude others from making or using or selling your idea, your creation, your invention. Next. And why is that important? Well, let's say you discover a treatment for COVID-19. That would be great. You can, next, build up. You can publish papers, you can give presentations, and that's wonderful. But what does that do for society? You can, you have, if somebody has COVID-19 and they have, hey, look, you published a paper on it. That's great. But what does that do for the people? What does it do for the people that actually have it? Nothing. So in order for us to make that invention help people that have COVID-ID, we have to license it to a company that'll make the vaccine or treatment available in commercial quantities so people can be treated and sell it. But they won't do that unless they have this patent, the time-limited right to exclude others, because they're putting a lot of money into creating that treatment and bringing it to market. And so they don't want other people to benefit from, other companies to benefit from their work. Next, please. Yeah, next. Sorry. There's different types of patents also. We have utility patents, which are about things or methods of use and types of manufacturing. We'll talk about that a little bit. Next, we have plant patents, the way that we check a lot of the work that's done here for genetic varieties and strains. And there's also a different type of protection for plants, which is called plant variety protection. Next, please. And there's design patents as well, but we don't really do a lot of design. These are not functional features. These are ornamental only. But unless you are in the trade for designs, we really don't work on design patents. Next, please. So the United States allows you to get a patent on anything that's invented, anything that you invent. It could be process, machine, article, manufacture, composition of matter, if, and only if, next, it meets several legal criteria. So you have to invent it first. It has to be patentable subject matter. You can't actually get a patent on anything. It could be it has to be a new thing, new use of a thing, new composition of matter, new method of making it. Next. And there's actually things that it can't be. It can't be an abstract idea, a naturally occurring. It can't put patents on wild animals or wild bacteria that you find. Software is no longer patentable. It has to be ethical use. It can't be a torture device, for example. Next. And it has to be new, useful, and non-obvious. We'll talk about this next. So novelty, well, this is novel. This is a method of keeping dogs' ears clean when they eat. So an example of a novel invention, it's 2 tubes over the dog's head, ears, and keeps them out. This can be a high bar, it can be a low bar, and we'll talk about why in just a little bit. Next. Then it has to be useful, I think, is the next one. Yeah, usefulness. It has to be, and this is a rather low bar, so anything can be useful. It can be used for something. So this is a patent on an artificial stick for playing with dogs. Next. But it actually can be very easy to get around. So you can design around it, or your dog can find a stick in the park and have just as good time with it. Next, please. Obviousness is a sticky one. It can be a sticky one for us because it has to be obvious. It can't be obvious to someone else that works in the exact same field, that has a familiarity with the invention. Okay, and next, this is a build out a bit. So let's say you invent a chair. You get a patent on a chair. It's a wooden chair with 4 legs and a back. What would be obvious with different variations of the chair could be obvious. If we build out next, 3, you can get a cushioned seat and arms and legs. You can put arms on a chair. You can use it, make it out of other materials like metal or plastic, and that'll all be obvious to someone who makes chairs. And there's the next build. But building a recliner with massage controls and heating devices would not be obvious because that brings in other elements. So that would not be considered obvious. Next slide, please. Next slide. Which brings us to enforcement. You can get a patent. It could be new, useful, obvious, not obvious, but it can be very difficult to enforce the patent. And this is an example of one, a patent for exercising a cat with a laser beam. And I've done this hundreds of times with my cat, and nobody's knocking on my door telling me that I'm violating their patent. So it's unless you know someone is infringing the patent and you can prove it, there's not much you can do to enforce it if it's something like this, like you're playing with a cat with a laser, and a lot of methods of use can be difficult to enforce. Next. And there's other patent barriers. We look for prior art when an invention is disclosed. It could be already issued patents, already filed patent applications, published papers, abstracts, or posters from other people that have published, a thesis publications, or a sale of the product. I actually had a disclosure once for a little camera that attached to an iPhone that looked at sperm for looking at barns that disseminate bulls and stuff. And I found it on Amazon. It was available on Amazon already, and so we couldn't file a patent on it. It was already for sale. Public disclosures are also a bar. There's people on my slide. Okay. This bar, and that's about your work. If you have talked at a conference, if you gave a poster, published papers, discussed the invention with colleagues outside of UC Davis, sent emails to people about your great invention, posted on your lab website, that could all bar us from filing a patent on your invention. Okay, next slide. And yes, you lose all foreign rights immediately, but you have a 1-year grace period in the US, and we can figure that out once the invention is disclosed. Next slide. So it can be novel, useful, non-obvious, enforceable, but not licensable. So what does that mean? Well, will anyone buy it? We had an invention for a new method, new system. This is actually a tool, an item, a new way of packing, new packing crates, and method for packing apples. It's a big deal. Fruit producers lose a lot of fruit from bruising, and apples and tomatoes and stuff. And so it was something they needed in the field, but unfortunately, the inventor didn't work with the current packing machines. So this is a great invention, but nobody would license it because they couldn't use it. They couldn't fit it in with their current machinery. So the packers, in order to use it, would have to retool their whole factories, cost of hundreds of millions of dollars, for a small incremental savings that would take 10 years for them just to break even. So it was a poor return on investment for them. So, you know, we didn't do a patent filing because nobody would have licensed it. Next slide. So sometimes patentables, sometimes inventions just won't be licensable. That's something we have to look at. I'm going to turn it over to Christy Johnson, and she'll take you through our process.
Thanks, Robin. I don't know whether you are going to be in the office tomorrow now that you've admitted on a recording that you've been infringing that cat laser thing. So there you go. More work for me, I guess. So yeah, we in Innovation Access, we love our patents. Oh, hi. We love our patents, and we love our licensing, and we really enjoy talking about the science and commercial aspects of the science with everyone. So we'll tell you a little bit about, if you engage with our office, how that would work. Can you do the next slide, Cassie, please? So when the people who are in Innovation Access are all aware of these various things that we're going to have to take into consideration when we are thinking about doing patents and licensing. And so they're scientists, they're business people, they know regulatory issues. So the people you interact with at Innovation Access have this wide variety of experience. And so when they talk to you about inventions, we really are using all of those hats. And so when an invention disclosure comes in, we take a look at it with all of those different hats on. So we take a look at it from the patentability aspect, from the market aspect, and a lot of times that involves a conversation. Once we have done a good conversation and also some online researching, we work to find out whether the patent filing is something that should be done, because patents really cost, they cost a lot of money, and especially with the budget situation, we have to actually ask, is this, $20,000 that it might take to go from filing the patent application to actually issuing it only in the US, and if you wanted to get a patent somewhere else, it's going to be that same amount in every country, and sometimes more for translations. We have to actually ask, is that going to be something that we can reasonably think about recouping? So we decide whether to do the patent filing. And if we do the patent filing, we immediately try to market that invention through a variety of ways. The marketing part of it hopefully results in somebody being interested in licensing. It's a very low rate of patenting to actual licenses, but we try really hard to do that. The market really drives what they want. We can't push the invention into the market. The market pulls it from us. The license negotiation happens, and that's sort of halfway between business and law. And then also keeping in mind the science. So we also consult with the inventor during that time. And hopefully it results in a license. That's what we're really trying to angle for, because that license means that it's going to go out into the marketplace and be used to help people. And that our whole directive is to get things out there for the benefit of the public, so that there are more jobs, so that there's more research dollars coming in, so that we have more entrepreneurial activity. All of those things are why we exist in the ecosystem here. So after the license is in place, there's this whole, are they doing what they said they were going to do? Are they paying us the payments that they said? Who do those payments go to? And so the next slide will help describe that, I think. So just the invention disclosure. Do you guys know how to use that reactions button down at the bottom of the Zoom? So there's a little smiley face. Raise your hand, your virtual hand, if you've seen one of these records of invention things. I don't know if I can see people's. So the record of invention, okay, cool. The record of invention form is available at the Office of Research website, but also you can contact any of us and we can help with that. Really, it's a way of assigning a number to the transaction, just like any other kind of thing that we do here at the university. It's really mostly to say, hey, I think I have something. You don't have to know for sure that you have something that meets all of those statutory requirements, or if it's commercial, it's really more of, let's talk. It's an invitation to talk with somebody here in our office. So then we reach out and we say, oh, okay, tell me more about that. And who do you know in the industry? And what do you think we could do with it? So we have a conversation. Can you click again, Cassie? We ask a bunch of different questions, including who else might be inventors, where'd you get the funding? Because if it's federally funded, we have obligations to let the federal government know what's happened with their funds, and that it might have resulted in an invention. They count those, of course, because they count everything, right? Let's see. And we check to see whether we'd be accidentally infringing or need to get a license under somebody else's materials. And then we look at the IP obligations that sponsored programs may have negotiated, or we may have negotiated in other licenses. So we need to make sure that we pay attention to those. Next slide, maybe. Right, and so once we take a look at the IP situation and we determine that we can move forward, at least from that just basic, is it patentable? Do we have the ability to move forward? We also ask the secondary question is, what can we do from a commercial standpoint? Because even if something is fabulous, even if it's just fantastic science, even if it's you know, tons of data, if there's not commercial potential, then we can't justify the expense of the patent, and the publication would be the way to get that information out to the public. Or maybe we help get more funding to get it farther. So we look at the market. We have specialized databases where we do the market research, and we rely on some experts to advise us as well. And we look at where is this in the development stage? Do we need to put more research dollars into it? Do we need to get somebody to do a prototype? How much is it going to cost to get it from where it is now, which is usually very early stage at the university, and build it up? And that's one of the things that we really rely on the other part of our office, which is Venture Catalyst, for, because Venture Catalyst, which is the startup arm, really helps us understand what it would really take as far as people, time, money, to get it to a place where we could license it, or whether we could commercialize it directly out of a startup. And then, of course, as usual, there are a lot of regulatory requirements, and so we'll take a look at that as well. Next slide. When we think about the invention evaluation, we think about a lot of different things. Cassie, do you mind building this slide out? And so these are some of the things that we think about. You can tell Robin made this slide. So we think about all of these different things and try to put as much as possible into the patent application that talks about these things, so it will be covered by that exclusivity. But also we try to set things up with investors, with potential investors, so that the inventors also are aware that these are the kind of things that we're going to need to move toward if we want to commercialize. And so you could do a lot of things, right? You could have rocket sneakers for dogs. It's very fast to put rocket sneakers on dogs, but would you really want to do it? So, next one, please. When after we filed the patent application, we set out to market the invention. And I have to say that this is pretty much the hardest thing for us because the inventions are often at such an early stage. We're sort of groping in the dark a little bit. And what we do is we create a non-confidential disclosure. We try to gain interest through online portals, but we also contact people who we know. So if the inventors happen to know some people, that really helps us as well. But we also have connections with the major corporations who we can ask for feedback on whether this might fit some aspect of their industry. And we also do marketing campaigns, and we used to attend conferences and trade shows, but hopefully we'll figure out how to do that going forward. Next slide, please. The licensing component is it's contracts. It's we try to figure out how we're going to get paid, how they're going to make progress, what are we going to do if they don't make progress. We think about all of the possibilities and we try to put it down in a piece of paper. Those things usually require heavy-duty negotiation, but they do result in good things for people. And down at the bottom of this slide, you can see some of the success stories that we've had. We have a startup called Evolve that does probiotics for infants, increasing their health outcomes, and Molecular Matrix, which is a bone graft substitute, which is really needed, and Zulresso, which is a postpartum depression treatment that was commercialized by Sage Therapeutics. It was the first FDA-approved therapy from UCD. So that's pretty cool. And I think after we commercialize, we have money coming in. Hopefully, most of our money coming in is from the strawberries and pistachios that we develop. But for these other things, I mean, for all of them, the money gets distributed according to a formula that is determined by the University of California system. It's not determined locally, and it's 50% to the Chancellor's General Fund, 15% to the department and college, go back to research, however they want to do it, and then 35% to the inventors. So some of these things really hit, and the inventors get to buy condos in Tahoe, but most of the time the inventions are helping people and increasing the research dollars and doing all of these and increasing the entrepreneurial activity in the community, and may have a less tangible outcome. But it is a possibility. So I think that's it.
Thank you very much, Robin and Christine. Any questions for our colleagues from Tech Transfer? The last slide that Christine showed is actually probably the most important one as far as money is concerned. There's a huge difference between the way inventor of a intellectual property in a corporate setting is treated versus in the university. When you work in the corporation, you don't get anything in return for coming up with an invention. You might get a thank you note. It used to be at $1. More recently, I understand that the number is somewhere around $100 you get and you are done. But in university, as Christine just showed, 35% of the money coming from licensing goes to inventors collectively. And in some cases, these are multi-million dollars. So there's huge incentive, aside from all of the doing good work, making things properly available to public and so on and so forth. Lots of incentives for the PIs in a university setting to keep disclosing their intellectual property. So I don't see any questions coming up. Cassie, any questions you see?
No, I do not see any questions. I do want to say that Robin and Christine provided their slides, so they will be on our website for anyone who wants to refer to them later.
Perfect. Thank you very much, both of you. For the benefit of people who are watching, you probably know that we, from sponsored programs, almost on the daily basis, we work with our colleagues in tech transfer. So no, we all report, aside from the fact that we report to the same vice chancellor, it's really, I mean, our operations are very closely linked. Proposals come through sponsored programs, awards come in. In some cases, when we are negotiating awards, issues of major issues of intellectual property, we work with our colleagues in tech transfer to make sure that university and inventors are properly protected. And we go forward when hopefully there is an invention. All of our files are available to our colleagues in tech transfer, and as one unit, we all work together. Again,
right.
Thank you very much.
Ahmad, I think that your group is really the very beginning of inventions. And so we appreciate all of that hard work that you do on negotiating those IP clauses, and it's really important to us. And without those research dollars, those research agreements coming in, we wouldn't have those inventions to even try to commercialize. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, since there's no more questions, let's go. We are running a little bit behind on time compared to usual. We have a presentation from IRB, issues related to IRB and conflict of interest. And Nicole from IRB is going to help us understand how IRB networks and so on and so forth. Nicole?
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. Okay, so today we're going to be building off of a topic that we talked about here last fall, actually, and it's the update to the IRB's conflict of interest reporting process, and which allowed investigators to report only to the Conflict of Interest Committee for their financial interests and research, and the IRB can then access those disclosures from the ECOI system. So today we're going to be talking specifically about how to link the projects in IRBnet and ECOI. So as a reminder, when you submit your disclosure through ECOI, both the COIC and the IRB are accessing those disclosures. So we need a way to identify the correct disclosures from the IRB's perspective to link it to what's been entered into the ECOI system. So to facilitate that, the ECOI system has been updated to require an IRBnet ID when you've indicated that it's a human subjects research project. So this only is going to apply to human subjects research. It's going to link the ECOI disclosure to the IRB application, but you're not required to submit the IRB application at this time. It's only a way for us to reference the ECOI disclosure at the time that the IRB submission does come through. So what you'll see when you're completing your disclosures in ECOI is a question about if the research or this project involves human subjects. This is really meant to identify human subjects research projects specifically. So you're only going to select yes if this is a human subjects research project. And if you say yes, then it's going to require that you enter an IRBnet ID number. So this is a screenshot of the Form 800 and 700U, the way that the questions are displayed there. You're going to see similar questions in the PHS disclosure, again, identifying a human subjects research project and requiring the IRBnet ID, and the supplemental form. But what if you don't have an IRBnet ID yet because you're not ready to submit to the IRB? You're going to go ahead and create one at the time that you're submitting the disclosure. And the process for doing this is very straightforward. If you're an IRBnet user already, you simply log into IRBnet, create a new project, enter the project title and PI name, and click continue. And then you're going to have an IRBnet ID for that project. All of this information can be placeholder information. It doesn't have to be exactly what's going to be submitted to the IRB in the future. The whole point is to just generate that number that can then link the disclosure to the ECO in the ECOI system. So these are some screenshots of what that process looks like. You just log in, click Create New Project, enter a project title, researcher name, and click Continue. And then you will be, there will be an IRBNet ID generated for that project. And you can then go back to the ECOI system and enter this information there. Again, you don't have to submit this application to the IRB now. It's just creating basically a shell project in the system that you can link to your ECOI disclosures. When you do submit to the IRB, if the research is funded and you move forward with the project, you just make sure that you just identify any financial disclosures in the initial review application, and then we'll go to the ECOI system and use that IRBNet ID to identify the correct disclosures for the process. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and show you in IRBNet what this project looks like. So if I go to IRBNet, I enter my username and password and log in. I'm taken to my Projects page. And you can see here a list of existing projects that I have access to. In this case, I'm going to be creating a new project. So I click Create New Project. And you can enter any title that will help you identify this project going forward. So I'm just going to do Research Study and enter my name. Whoops. And click Continue. And now I have this IRBNet ID that I can take to the ECOI system and enter there. I don't have to do anything else with this project. It can just sit here in IRBNet. So if I go back to my Projects view, this project is now sitting here at the top. It's the project I just created. And when I'm ready to submit to the IRB, I can just reopen this project and begin building my application to the IRB as I would. If for some reason this project is unfunded and I decide not to move forward with it, I can also delete this from the system so that this isn't just sitting in my projects that are waiting for submission to the IRB. And that is the end of this brief presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't see any questions coming up. Let's see. Thank you, Nicole. That was very, I know that we have been receiving some questions regarding this very specific issue. I want to send my conflict of interest through, but I don't have IRBNet numbers, and this is absolutely extremely helpful for individuals in that situation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's see. Okay, let's go for some updates from sponsored programs on the proposals.
Ahmad, we do have one question that just came through for Nicole, asking is this ID required in Cayuse SP? So I don't believe the ID is required in SP. Ahmad, Nicole, I think we're just referring to the COI system and IRBNet.
This is COI, to the best of my knowledge, this is for COI, ECOI, and no, it doesn't, as far as I know, there's nowhere in Cayuse that you would be entering that number. So it's for conflict of interest processing. Okay, with that, Kelly, the Associate Director responsible for the proposal section of sponsored programs. Kelly, any updates? Kelly, you are mute. Okay, now you are back. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I have just a few quick updates and reminders for everybody. I want to let everybody know we are operating normally. Please don't hesitate to submit your requests to us. I did have one PI reach out a couple of weeks ago wondering if he should even bother submitting something. It was going to be pretty last minute, and I told him absolutely never let sponsored programs stop you from submitting. We will review every proposal to the best of our ability, depending on volume. Ideally, we would like to see 5 business days, but even if we get it in the day it's due, we'll do our best to do some sort of review. We don't guarantee it, but definitely submit to us anytime there's something that you want to have go to a sponsor. Again, we do review first in, first out, so there is a chance we may not be able to do a whole lot, but give us a chance to do something. I think something is better than nothing. We also want to remind everybody that we can't submit anything unless it's been approved by the department in Cayuse and the PI has certified. One of the reasons it's really important that we ask for a budget justification, and a scope of work or abstract with the Cayuse proposal is so that everybody involved in the approval chain can review the documents that are coming to us. So it's really important not only that you upload them, but you understand why those approvals are so necessary. We still do have to kick back a fair number that are missing certifications, and we'd like to see that number decrease. So definitely please remind PIs and chairs, and in some cases dean's offices, that they do have to review and approve before anything comes to our office. And then last but not least, we want to remind everybody to please grant us access to the submission system at the time of the SP submittal in Cayuse. That way we can review the Cayuse SP documents and see the changes that may have occurred in the final submission system at the time of our initial review. So that's really helpful information for us. I just want to make sure everybody out there is aware of what we're requesting and why. And then if anybody has any questions for proposals, please let me know.
Thank you, Kelly. Any questions for our proposal team? Again, as Kelly said, it's not, even though we are working off-site, it's business as usual. The proposal team has been doing an amazing job keeping everything working as if we were sitting in the office and they were talking to each other in the office. They are virtually talking, or maybe on the phone they talk to each other. So we haven't experienced any problems. I'm sure the work is a little bit harder, but the dedicated people of the team, they have been pushing forward. So as Kelly said, we really need enough time to be able to push the volume through. The volume is extremely high still, and hopefully it would keep going higher because if you want to get the funding coming in. But we need your help to be able to do a good job in reviewing and hopefully making the proposals better for getting the money in. Any question? I see one question coming in.
Yeah. So Gwendolyn, we've reached out to Cayuse about getting the routing completed before it comes to us, and because it's a system that's used by so many other entities, they weren't able to accommodate that. We have so many coming in that we're unable to hold it, but what we can do is just move it to unsubmitted, and once the PI does approve, let us know and we'll go ahead and assign it. And that way it's not sitting in the active box for us to do something with at that time. But we can certainly look at the email that you're receiving and maybe reword it a little bit.
Regarding the same thing, actually, the way these systems are, unfortunately, maybe they are not set up properly. But technically speaking, it doesn't make sense for a proposal to be approved by somebody other than the PI to begin with. I mean, the PI has to say that, yeah, I want to send this through. Then from there, it should go to the chair and then to the dean and come through. Without the PI saying that I want this proposal to be submitted, it doesn't really make sense for the chair to approve it. I'm seeing this question saying that the chair is really fast and they approve it, but that tells me that they didn't even look at what the PI has done to see if it should be approved. It shouldn't be rubber stamping. I mean, it should be something more than that. So maybe, you want to talk to the chair, I would be more than happy to talk to the chair to explain to them that they should really build on what the PI said. Not that, I see that the PI wants to send something out, I have no idea what it is, but let's do it. I mean, that really doesn't add any value to the system, and it's the waste of time of the chair. I mean, if that is what they want to do, maybe there is no need for them to certify. I'm not saying that there is no need. The need is that they have to verify what the PI is sending out. So let's work together. Maybe we need to all talk to the chair to make sure that we are doing it right.
Ahmad, on that note, we have a bookmark we put together that helps the chairs just know like the specific areas in SP where they can find information about the budget and the effort with some hints on what they should be looking at, to keeping in mind the policy and their own process. But right. We have a little bookmark that helps kind of identify where those areas are in SP before they actually authorize it. And one of those things is to see that the lead PI and co-Is have certified it. Okay, so I don't know if maybe you want to make sure that the department, and specifically the question came from Gwen, make sure that she has it so she would share it with the chair, because that's really important. Again, I can't emphasize enough that it really doesn't make any sense for a chair to certify something coming through when the PI hasn't said that I want to do it. Okay, and there seem to be some more questions. Yeah, I see another one saying that it's difficult to hold department approval until the PI certifies. You have to figure out a way. I don't know what to tell you. It's just the PI is the one who starts the process. So I don't understand why the PI would not be the first one to look at the record and push it through. From the point of view of our office, if the whole thing, I mean, certification from the PI department, and when the dean's certification is needed, and that's really, by the way, the decision of the deans, it's not our decision. If everything is not there, technically speaking, we have to return the proposal because it's not complete. We can't do anything on it. We don't have the green light from the ones who own the proposal to work on it. So you need to help us get there. So anyway, it seems like the discussions are regarding the same thing. Both questions are coming through that the chair has the same difficulty as sponsored programs has. But maybe we have to figure out a system that, I don't know, the chair would look at these things the day after the PI has looked at it. I don't know what their process should be, but it really, I mean, these things should go stepwise. Okay, I think, yeah, there is no more really questions outside what we just talked about. Cassie, do you see anything else? No, I don't see anything else. But I'm gonna upload the document I was mentioning here for everyone, and I'll link it on our website.
Thank you, Kelly. Let's see, how about now Grace, the other Associate Director of Sponsored Programs on the award side. Grace, any updates?
Yes, good morning, everybody. And I am sharing my screen. I want to go to the beginning. Okay, how do I just play the slides? Okay, this is.
On the top of your screen in the red bar, there's a little, yeah, you can do that.
There it is.
All right. So good morning. I just have two main points. One is also about a process as it regards to after the fact awards. So I know some of you guys, for certain reasons, submit directly to the sponsor without going through the SPO proposals team. This does create confusion in SPO when the award comes in. So I just want to make a few points here. If you have an after the fact proposal, so you've submitted directly to the sponsor, and then afterwards you have a proposal action you want to take on it, please just route that through Cayuse as you normally would. Okay, the proposals team will then take it on and do the required proposal action. Usually this is because there's a JIT request on an already submitted proposal. Okay, for the awards, I have a few more points. One is if you've submitted the proposal and you know that an award is coming, at that point, we would encourage you to wait until the award is received before routing the Cayuse proposal. Because that way, when SPO gets the routed Cayuse proposal, it's clear what we are supposed to do with it. And so that way we can just act on it. In that case, if you've already received the award, please upload the received award, indicate ATF for awards or ATF for negotiations team as appropriate. Negotiations team is for for-profit sponsors, but at least indicate ATF for awards, state contracts, foundations. Usually most federal awards require you to go through SPO, but you understand the division of labor. Please indicate that in the short project title and the project title so we know which team to send that to. Now this next point is very important. If there's any reason you need to route that after the fact Cayuse proposal before the award is received, these, usually you should be able to wait, but there might be certain cases, maybe somebody will definitely be in a place where they don't have access to Cayuse. So if you have these problems, upload the submitted proposal. Okay, so you're routing the Cayuse proposal in anticipation of the award being received, but you at least need to upload the submitted proposal, indicate once again ATF for awards or ATF for negotiations team so we know which team to handle it. And in this case, if the department or PI receives the award document itself, you will need to email that to SPO so that we have the award when it comes in. Okay, does everybody understand how that works? This would help us cut down the confusion on our team when we have these ATF proposals that come in. Okay. The other issue I want to bring to everybody's attention is 2 points related to state contracts. On April 30th, the California Budget Office released a budget letter 20-11. In the subject line, it was called Current Year Expenditure Reductions. It's very clear what that means. And in regards to new goods and services contracts, it states very clearly, the departments, meaning the state agencies, may not enter a new service contracts or agreements except for a small subset, and those are related to telework, for sanitation, and for COVID-19. So for most of our projects, this is going to impact us, okay? So state contracts, we're not expecting them to send us anymore through the end of the budget year at least. And also, I just want to make a point here. If you have a state contract, please contact your program officer and ask about carry forwards and extensions on your projects. And the reason I say this is because if your project funds were drawn from California state general funds, no extension or carry forward is allowed year to year. Okay, so without that prior approval, the unspent funds are going to lapse and revert back to the state at the end of the obligated period. There's no automatic carry forward with state funding. All right, so June, usually if a lot of state contracts expire June 30th, that is rapidly approaching. And if you haven't been able to spend down your funds, you need to get in contact with your program officer to know what is expected. Okay, that is all from me on the award side.
Let's see, I don't see any question. Could you put, please, the first slide on? I want to say something about that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Oops.
Okay, this one here. Oh, going back.
One more?
Yes, before that.
Okay.
Okay, here we are talking about in the first bullet, it talks about after the fact proposals or proposals that have been sent to the sponsor, and at one point, bypassing our office basically, and Grace mentioned that maybe in just in time or something, we have become aware that the proposal was sent out and the procedure for how to deal with that. Again, Grace talked about the logistics of what we do, but I want to make sure that everybody knows that this is against the university policy to send a proposal out bypassing the appropriate office of contract and grants, which is sponsored programs at Davis. The reason for that is that university policy says, this is general university policy, not Davis, that any proposals sent out by a member of university who either receives any portion of their salary from university, it's not about that award, it's university. If they receive any portion of their salary from university, or the project is expected to use university facilities to be conducted, that proposal has to come through Office of Research before it goes to the sponsor. So the proposal should not bypass our office. There are situations, I am aware that, and we all know that there might not be a way around that, but a PI sending a proposal out without coming through our office and then later telling us, by the way, no, the sponsor wants XYZ, that is violation of the university policy. And lots of PIs might not know that. It's our responsibility and our colleagues in the department to explain to them that that should not happen. Now, when it happens, we do whatever we can do to help. But in some cases, they have sent something through, they have accepted some terms and conditions, and then they get an award, and we have to undo lots of things. And this happens with some proposals to specific corporations that unfortunately the PIs send something out. In the proposal, there are terms that they say that if we give you an award, you have to agree to XYZ, and the award comes in. That's the first time we hear about it. And as we are trying to work out the details of the award, the corporation said, but your PI accepted this and that. And we have to very politely say that the PI had no authority to accept anything on behalf of the regents. That doesn't make a good relationship. So help us not to get to that point. Thank you. Do we have any questions? I see something coming in, Cassie.
We do. We have two questions, and one is about sub-awards, and the other actually is about the PI certification process and submission process. So I'll go ahead, and Kelly, if you want to speak in, chime in. Someone asked why PIs have to submit and certify in Cayuse. I am hesitant to provide a direct answer because that's explaining how the system is intended to work. I do think it allows for the department admins to be able to submit on behalf of the PI to get it routed to us, but I can't really say why they have to submit and then certify if they are doing both. I know that when you submit, you're not asked to attest to all of the PI certifications, where when the PI certifies, they're actually certifying to everything within it. So it is two separate things, but I don't really have a direct answer to that. So I don't know if anyone wants to add in there. Otherwise, the other question is for awards and potentially sub-awards. When an award housed here at UC Davis is going to be transferred to another institution with the PI, and the PI transferred at the other institution is going to issue UC Davis a sub-award, should the sub-award package be submitted via Cayuse SP as the ATF, or directly contact the awards team?
I can answer that, Cassie. This is actually would be on the award side of the house, not sub-awards as outgoing sub-awards, because this is incoming. So anytime we have an incoming sub-award from another institution, it's treated as an award. So in this case, you might want to talk to your award analyst directly. If the transfer is already being done, it should have been a package sent to the sponsor, which would have included UC Davis as a sub-awardee in that transfer. So there may be additional information the awards analyst can help with on this one. This is kind of a one-off. So it may be, you know, something out of the norm, but typically it would come through our office just like a proposal. As part of that transfer package, I assume that would all be inclusive. But Grace, if you want to chime in, or anyone else on the award side.
Well, okay, so the process of transferring an award is the award has to be terminated here, and then the new institution has to submit a proposal to the agency. At that point, UC Davis is going to submit our sub-award package as part of that new institution's proposal to the agency. So actually, I think before we get the sub-award package, we are going to already submit our sub-award proposal package to the new agency for their review and submission.
Correct.
So I actually think the sub-award, you would route it through Cayuse SP for the proposals team to review, because you would submit that sub-award budget for the proposals team to review before that new institution submits it to the agency. Kelly, Chris, Alyssa, please feel free to jump in.
That's correct. It's really, I mean, the part that the beginning of the question says that the PI is here going somewhere else, that's really not relevant. The whole issue is that now we have a PI in a new institution. As Grace said, that the fact that the PI was here, all it means is that we have to terminate the award here. Now the PI is a new institution. The PI is, is treated like any other PI from somewhere else. That person is not our PI anymore. They are submitting a proposal again to the same sponsor that they had here. That's a new proposal technically, and we are a sub-award to that. So all of the rules of sub-award getting from outside, which is, as Paula said, is an award to us, has to be followed, which means that you would put a package from here together for a new PI here, not the same PI who was here and is gone. We cannot accept award from the same PI to the same PI. But our PI is the individual A, went to Stanford. Now Stanford wants to give us a sub-award, which is an award to us for PI B here. So you put a package together for that award coming in. Proposal team would review it, would send it through. When the award comes in, the award would take care of it. And that's how really the steps work.
Ahmad, we have another question about something else. So this one I'll read because I know they get kind of buried. Some of the postdocs or grad students applied for the award themselves, and when they are awarded, it was given the choice to run through campus versus depositing their funds to their own bank accounts. So when it's chosen to run through campus, we route them through Cayuse SP as an ATF, right?
Well, that part about choosing what to do is a little bit tricky. If the money is for a fellowship and it's not for doing research in university facilities, the individual, the student can get the money in their own checking account. But if the sponsor is giving them that money for doing research in university, it's not a personal money, it is really to the regents. So it has to come through the university. Now I understand the question that, at the beginning, the student didn't know if this would become personal money or university money. And that's why they bypassed our office or graduate student. I mean, some of these might have to go to graduate studies, depending on if it's a fellowship or not. If it's student and it's fellowship, it won't be even in our office. But anyway, the bottom line is that the sequence of the event is that the student or the postdoc who might not be aware of all of the policies of university becomes aware of an opportunity in, let's say, Intel, and they send a request for getting $10,000 from Intel. If that money comes in as basically stipend type of thing, not for research in university, most probably it is personal money. But if the money is issued or the award is issued for research in university, that doesn't belong to the individual, that belongs to university, which means that it has to be processed by one of the offices of the university, either graduate studies or us. So if it is us, yeah, the question is it after the fact? Yes, at that point it would be after the fact, and our award team would work with you to properly document and accept the award on behalf of the Legions. I hope I answered the question. So, and Chris said, yes, that is correct. Okay, I was correct before I answered it even, I guess. Shanna says the same. Let's see. So anything else? I'm looking at the questions here, but yeah, the other ones are not really related to this.
I don't see anything.
Okay, so thank you very much. This has been a really good interaction. Thank you for asking questions. This is how we learn from each other. And again, this is your time to ask questions, and the questions are encouraged. Let's see. How about if we hear from James from accounting? Updates from accounting. James,
sure. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy whatever day it is. Yeah, just a couple of quick updates. I think we've had a lot of good information this morning, so you might all be getting overloaded. I just wanted to reiterate what someone else said, that CGA is also quote unquote business as usual to the best of our ability anyway, given our remote working, and also just to point out that we do have a few vacancies in our shop. So that's a bit of a challenge for us to work through. So we're trying to balance things out. But nevertheless, as I always say, if you do have critical issues, please do let us know so that we can try to expedite perhaps a new award setup or advance account or something like that. I wanted to let you know that the PI ledger review, the FIS 325, has been fixed so that it is now bringing in the correct information related to UCPath employee IDs, so that the reports are now working the way they used to work prior to getting things a little bit with the different IDs. Things were a little bit hard to look at in the salary section because it was just displaying numbers and not names. That has now been resolved. So we turned the monthly notifications back on. So this month, PIs did receive their reminder that the reports are available and they can go in and check them out. So hopefully that is helpful for folks to have those reminders. One thing we did find out yesterday is there appears now to be a little bit of a glitch for reports associated with funds where both UC Davis and A&R have a component of the award. So maybe UC Davis is the prime, and then there's a multi-campus agreement down to A&R. We have reported that to the help desk. So if you have one of those projects, things might not look quite normal, but we're trying to get that figured out and resolved. The other thing, business as usual. So that also means that, like Grace said, we're coming up on June 30 here in a hurry. That is the fiscal close period for everybody. So we'll be doing our normal routines in advance of our normal list that one of the things that we do each year is share with you all a list of open sub-awards where there are balances that you might need to make accruals for, and give you instructions for how to do that. I've had a little bit of concern that some institutions that might not have been able to convert to remote operations as quickly as we were might be a little behind in some of their invoicing and other tasks. So on Monday, we sent effectively the same list to everyone to say, here are your open sub-awards with balances over $10,000. but we're doing this just as information only. You may wish to take that information and contact the subs if you can work that into your work plan for the coming few weeks. It's just that if you can get those invoices from those subs and get them paid, we're going to have better data on our ledgers, and you're going to have fewer tasks to deal with as far as doing accruals and the jumble that comes along with that. So that was intended to help. Hopefully it is helpful. If there's just, it's at your option how you want to work with that. And then, just the normal thing, we'll be focused. I guess our request is, as always, is to make sure that you're staying on top of your overdrafts and getting your accounts closed out so that we, again, have good information on the ledger and we can do our processes hopefully fairly efficiently and not have to move overdrafts off to the dean's accounts, which is where they go. So it's not like they magically disappear and then they just turn around and come right back to you. So you still have those overdrafts. So if we can get them cleared out in advance of the close, on the whole, we're going to be in a better position. And those are my little updates. I don't know if any. There's a question about PIs if PIs are required. No, we're not going to hold PIs to going back and taking care and clicking the button on those old ledgers. They're certainly welcome to do that. There is, as you know, there is a requirement for a monthly, for PIs to be reviewing their ledgers on a monthly basis. So if they have not elected to use the PI ledger review, like I said, the report was a little bit of a jumble, then we are on the assumption that other means have been utilized so that PIs can see where they are. Many departments provide different snapshots of the accounts. Okay.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. There was, let's see. Any questions for James? No? Well, if there is nothing else, our next meeting is May 27th, which is the fourth Wednesday of the month. If there's nothing else, we can stop. Last chance? No? Well, thank you very much for being here. We had over 160 participants, and I am seeing that they are dropping off now. Have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.